All that they have seen, there is a group of people, they are very fair-skinned, while the Egyptians traditionally are our color, they are neither black nor, fair, but they are somewhat in between, So he said, what is this? Egypt has a large number, about 20 lakhs of, these people, red-faced, red-skinned people. Hey, we have to do something. Otherwise, if another foreign, dynasty comes to attack, these people will take their side, and that means Egypt will go down. This present dynasty will go down. So let us play wisely. But what was the purpose? God brought the Jewish people to Palestine for what? To make them a nation. They need to be multiplied. How many people were there? Only 70 people. Jacob and 75 people came. 70 came, 5 were already here. So 75 people total were there. From the 75 people, the whole Canaan is going to be given to the 75 people. What the Canaanite will do? Even the jackals will pick them up. So God wanted a large people. So the ideal situation was given for multiplication. So the people of Israel multiplied in 400 some years. Boy, they multiplied from 75 to 22 lakhs. That's big growth. Now they are feeling very comfortable. They are, the best country, Goshen, by the side of Nile River, where the water never, a shortage for water. There's plenty of water, plenty of vegetables and everything. The best country was there. So they were settled down there, just like our expatriates in America. They don't want to come back. They say, we are not coming. We are comfortable here. So God had to bring a new ruler. By his mistreatment, these people will begin to hate Egypt. They say, somehow if only God will take us out of this country, we will be happy. So that Pharaoh has done tricks and he misbehaved with people, so terribly. These people begin to cry. As a result, God told Moses, the cry has come to my presence and I have come down. So they were ready to go, they were ready to go. But then who all went? It's not all the Jewish people, covenanted people who went. There's a mixed race, These mixed race, they cannot be taken to Egypt, to Canaan, the promised land, because they will destroy it. So all that people has to be filtered out. So God had filtered them out. And then with a new generation, all circumcised, new covenant renewed, with a new generation of vigorous people, the bad ones are gone. The river Jordan is crossed and they come to the land. God has a purpose. So those who write the history of Egypt, how will they write? If a Christian is writing, they will write that, in the history of Egypt in this light. God had a plan and purpose in raising up and putting down. Yes? Why all those people, the Pharaoh and the army, they were drowned in the Red Sea? There are two purposes. Number one, Pharaoh has thrown so many boys in the river Nile, given to the food, as food to the crocodiles. If those boys were living, they were of the same age like these soldiers. So God said that you enjoyed the fun of throwing people. I don't do that with the helpless little children. I do with able, soldiers. So they were drowned there. But even more than that, God wanted the whole nations everywhere to hear about Jehovah. The mightiest nation, empire on earth at that time was the Egypt. The mightiest empire and its emperor, Jehovah has drowned them. When they came to Jericho, what was that Rahab said? That's what it is. So it was a moral blow to all the people in Canaan. They were not ready to, they were already, demoralized and they were, So God has a purpose. Only we Christians can explain this, interpret this history like that. Others will say that what? It was wrong for, it happened that, they were not ready. They were all grieved, because of the death of their children. And they did not oil the wheels of the chariots. They didn't have time. So the wheels begin to squeak. And in the dust and all that one, then the wheels begin to break, and their tragedy and all that came, It will always be a different subjective interpretation. They cannot see things objectively.
Why did they take chariot into the sea?
Because these people have gone, they have made much advancement. Besides, when it came, what happened? The sea is no more sea, it's dry ground. So they thought that they can cross over and catch the people on the other side. Why did they think like that? Well, that's very good. Vinashakale, Viparita Buddhi, Malayalam, they say that. You always think the wrong thoughts in the wrong time. That's the way it is. So it happened. So all these things, so what I say is this one: only a Christian can, interpret history correctly, because they know the purpose. History is goal-oriented. Every single event takes place with a goal in mind, God's mind. He controls everything. The destruction of the Jerusalem temple by Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar coming in, nothing by chance. God had a purpose in that one. There was a goal. It all moved exactly like that, exactly as God wanted. There was no point in history or time where our God was defeated or where our God was confused, didn't know what to do now. No. The biblical history is very clear. The mistakes of Israel happened because of Israel's mistakes. But there was a purpose behind it. That's the meaning of, even our mistakes, behind that, God has a purpose. That is, all things works together for good to those who love God. If you are people who love God, then even some of the casual mistakes that come, God will work it out. He knows how to. We cannot. Only He knows how to. That's a good perspective, for us to know that sometimes we weep over our mistakes and some of the failures, and we say that, I'm so sorry, God was not good to me. He could have prevented it, but He didn't. He didn't. But He has a purpose. Definitely He has a purpose. And He did it. He did it and He does it. So the Bible teaches or presents the history as a purposive, goal-oriented, God-directed interpretation of events. The Christianity and history are always allies. They are not enemies. True history is His story. Means it is the doing of God. It is the activities of God. That's what. He created this world, and He is moving this world to a climax, where finally He is going to do away with this world. He is going to create another world. All done by Him. So history is His story. If we don't see the hand of God controlling the history and molding the history, then we will never understand history. We could record some facts. Pharaoh died in the Red Sea. That's a fact anybody could record. 6 million people above the age of 20 started from Egypt, but only 2 reached Canaan. That's fact. But why? That's the interpretation part. That only somebody who has the perspective of God. Only then, they can interpret it. So we need to interpret everything, We are historians. We may not be accepted as historians by others, but we are interpreting history every day. In the evening when you sit together, you will be evaluating this day's activities, You will be saying that, I don't know why he did it, why that happened, or why this child failed. He's always very intelligent, and why he failed and all these things. In your interpretation, you must see the hand of God. The smartest child can fail if God had a purpose to take him to elsewhere, right? If he wins, naturally he's going to go this way, but God wanted to take him this way. For that one, a failure is necessary. No, don't think that all failure is if you interpret like that, you will not be benefited. But there, more often there is a purpose. There is a purpose. There is a purpose. It is. It's there. Our God is a very purposive God. His hands guide and control the events. Sometimes it's very difficult for us to reconcile with the events at present, because this is not something we wanted. The failure of this child is not something we wanted. The death of this child is not something we wanted. No. The loss of this job is not something we wanted. The burning down of this home is not something we wanted or expected we can take. But we ask the question, why? Unless we can see the hand of God behind it, we may say that, Lord, I don't understand why, but I know you know why. You may reveal to me, you may not reveal to me. That's your prerogative. But I know you will not do anything without a purpose. I love you, you know also I love you, and I only seek your glory. Therefore, when this happened, I may have misjudged something, yes, but nothing deliberate. There you have a purpose. Show me the purpose if it's your will, otherwise give me the grace to accept it. And wait to see God working out, all things for good. That's the perspective we have to have when we study history. Some people study history and sit down and weep and get angry with God, show their fist against God and say that you did it. I don't want you anymore, that sort of. This is terrible, isn't it? It's terrible. We should not be doing that. We should not be. So, God, guides history. God guides history. Yes, yes. The Christianity and history are always allies. And history is His story. It is God's interference in human affairs. The incarnation, the death, the resurrection of Jesus Christ, they are the central fulcrum upon which history moves. Yes. We usually say that history is divided into AD and BC, all because of Jesus Christ, the incarnated Word of God. But why that happened? Because God had definite purposes. We have to see that purposes, definitely. God frequently interferes in human affairs. Arnold Toynbee said that, the progress or the digress of history, the world, is decided by God's interference in human affairs and man's response to that interference. That's what it is. That's what it is. A society progresses or it goes back, depends upon the interference of God and then how man reacts or relates to that interference. If man reacts in positively, then that society is going to go forward and forward. But if man reacts negatively and against God, then the society is going to go back. Instead of progress, there will be regression. That's terrible, isn't it? But that's a great truth. So he said that no society can rise above the concept of their God. Arnold Toynbee's statement. No society or no culture, no nation can ever rise above the concept of their God. Is their God truthful? That nation will be a truthful nation. Is their God a just God? That society will be a just. Is their God a righteous God, a loving God, a caring God? Then that society can come up to there. Is their God a thief and a liar and a stealer? The society will be essentially that. No society can grow itself, advance itself beyond the concept of their God. The concept of their God limits the society. Sometimes some societies will celebrate even some celebrations, but what is it all about? It's sad, isn't it? If some gods will steal something, even that become a opportunity for celebration. That's terrible. It's terrible. A society cannot grow beyond its concept of God. Why certain societies kill people, slaughter people? Today a message has come to Joel. What was it, Joel? Read that, pray for Christians in Iraq. They are being butchered, slaughtered, in large number. They are just cutting the throats and beheading them. How can they do it? That's what their religion. That's what their religion is. Their concept, their God calls for it. That's why. So no society can. You cannot expect. Even if Christianity becomes corrupt, still that in the corrupt society, what they will be doing, charitable acts of establishing hospitals and orphanages and all those things, that's what they will be doing, because Jesus Christ is a person of love and compassion. Even if you reject his deity for some reason, still your concept about your humanity, you will be a humanitarian, person. You will be a secular humanist. That's the worst a Christian can go down. But you will not be, these extremists and terrorists. No, you cannot be. The Bible never gives room for that. Never gives room for that. So that's our history. When we understand our history, that is the progress of Europe, the progress of some countries is because the interference of God in their community led only for this sort of an advancement. People reacted positively. The revivals. Take for example the period of Renaissance. What is about Renaissance? The Renaissance artists were all studying the classical literatures, and they went back to the study of Greek, Hebrew, Latin, and all those things. And during the Renaissance period, all those paintings, they were biblical themes. They were all biblical themes. All the European famous artists and all these, Michelangelo or, Rembrandt or, you name one by one, and Picasso and all these people you name, themes they painted mostly are of biblical themes. Jesus walking on the water, or, various, or Abraham offering Isaac and all these things, and they have painted because that's the way they can go. When they have totally rejected Christianity and God, now they are painting what? What are they? They have now realism and surrealism and impressionism. So many schools of art comes, and even they themselves don't know what they are. Really they don't know. Ask sometimes some artist, what do you mean by this one? I don't know. Said, it's modern art. It's confusion. Oh yeah, I can see that. The toe is over the head. Must be confusion. And the eye is at the end of the feet. There must be confusion. I said, yeah, but they call it this and that and all that. They call it, what is it? What is it? Now they are having even a modern painting where they put paint in a big vessel, and they have some motor going on and spraying the paint into a canvas, and whatever is the outcome, that's a painting. I say it's better than that. You walk by the roads in India in the muddy season, the cars will go on the puddles and it will, spurt all this dirty water on you, and you have a nice painting. That's what is happening everywhere. People go crazy, I say that, because they are not seeing things. So what I said is, in history, the development, whether it is a period of Renaissance or Reformation, whatever the European history, you take that history, you can see that how God intervenes and interferes in the affairs of man, and man responds to that. And that response takes man a step ahead from where he is. If it's negative, pulls him back. So for history, for a God-believing person like Arnold Toynbee, history is his story in the sense that it is God's interference in human affairs, and it's man's response to that interference. And God is interfering in our lives even today. Even today. How are we responding to it? Well, that's the key. God intervened in the life of Jesus Christ in Gethsemane. How did he respond to it? See, that's what decides history, He said not my will, your will. Your will. So that sort of intervention is seen frequently in history, God intervened in the life of Saul of Tarsus. He was riding on the horse with chains, many chains in his hand and his followers. He was so victorious, and they were probably talking about how they will drag these people to Jerusalem, and probably some of them will be stoned, others will be put in jail. God just struck him and he fell from his horse down there. That's God's interference in the affairs of a man. Not only of a man, in the intervening in the course of history of that time. That's what changed the history of the Roman world. Paul, how did he react? Only two questions he asked. What were they? Who are you? Answer came, Jesus of Nazareth whom you persecute. That decided, settled his Christology, And Paul beautifully painted Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Jesus of Nazareth, the Son of God. The deity of Jesus Christ, so beautifully painted. He got that answer right there, falling down. What was the second question? What do you want me to do? That was Paul's missiology. For the rest of his life, he was just doing what the Lord wanted. All over the world, he went and preached and converted. He was turning the world upside down. Yes. He reached even in the household of Caesar. Family members were getting saved. That was his missiology. So his response to history. One small event happened. A man was riding the horse at the midday. He was struck down. Some will say that it was sunstroke. Yeah, it was sunstroke, yes. But then he asked the sunstroke, who are you, sunstroke? He said it is S-O-N sunstroke, not S-U-N sunstroke. That changed the course of history. Some God's, interference in human history and man's response to it. God is even intervening with us. It's very, very interesting, I went to the States for, many purposes. Of course, I wanted to do my master's in law. I joined here for LLM and did, 6 months, and then I got married. I discontinued, but I wanted to study some Bible for a couple of years and then moved to my favorite subject, the law and all that. But in between, I decided I wanted to take immigration in America, permanent residence and all that. So I made an application for that. And it was easy for me to get because I was qualified and all that. But interestingly, I got a letter from the immigration department's one-line question. Mr. Thomas, is this what you want to do in your life, with your life? That was the time when the Lord was dealing with, I have already given my application. It's already 6 months or 3 months, and I was going to the law school, Indiana Law School and all that one, so I wanted to be an immigrant and all these things. So the Lord was speaking to me very loudly, this is not my will for you, and I have not completely surrendered my life, and, but God was, intervening in my life, and I was trying to respond to Him, and all that. Then this immigration officer simply asked this question, is this what you want to do with your life? And I took it and said, Lord, this immigration officer is asking what I want to do with my life. I took it and tore it and written handwritten letter saying I withdrew my application for permanent residence. This is not what I want to do with my life. I want to go back to India and preach the gospel. That's what I want to do with my life. God intervenes in our lives. God intervenes. How do you react? That's the question. That's going to determine many things for you and your family. Even your posterity is going to be decided by that. So God is intervening in our lives frequently, And, right before this happened, a couple of days beforehand, I went to the Indiana Law School and for my admission, and there I saw this one Bible college, Indiana Baptist Bible College. I said, hey, let me go in and see what they have. As I went in, there was Dr. Foster, who was the dean of the school. He said, he was very friendly man. He said, I have never seen you. Where are you from? I said, from India. And so he asked me, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to go Indiana Law School for my master in law. And he said, you are a born-again Christian? Yeah, I am. He fired me left and right. Left and right for half an hour. You are a Christian from India, you want to go to law school and make money? while the Indians are perishing? You are ashamed? You go back to India and preach the gospel. 2 days back, immigration officer asking me, is this what you want to do with your life? And I said, Lord, it's enough. I answer positively, yes, I want to go and preach the gospel. So the intervention of God is still intervening in the lives, and many people are responding negatively, honestly. Negatively. There's so many interests, so many things, so many situations, Yes. I told my wife, she said, definitely, if God has called you for preaching the gospel, I will always be with you. I'm your wife. No objection, nothing. I expected that, is it necessary? Why can't we serve the Lord with work and all that? No, there's not a word like ever, So the intervention of the Lord, that's what history is. That's what history is. I personally believe, God intervened in my life through one a worldly man, the other a godly man. Both had the same question to me. Is this what you want to do? No. But before that, for a few weeks, not few weeks, for a few months, I will say even for a few years, the Lord was intervening slowly in my life. I myself had questions, this is all waste. Why this, that, and all that things, The Lord had given me that interest, but I was not yielding. Neither the Lord's hand was not heavy upon me, It was, the voice was too soft. Just like to ask Elijah, what business you have here? The big thunder gone, everything gone. But then the soft voice. Sometimes the Lord asks in the soft voice, we don't listen. So somebody has to come with a loud voice, the big bang, But thank God. God is intervening. So what I'm saying, the whole course of my life, not only my life, I will say that the life of many hundreds or thousands of people have been changed. Definitely. Definitely. That's history. God is intervening in the lives of people. Maybe God is intervening in your life. Maybe you are not responding. Whether the progress you make or the digress you make is going to be decided how you are going to respond. God doesn't want everybody to be full-time workers. No, God is not going everybody to be full-time workers. But God is dealing with you. Are you fulfilling His purpose in the place where you are? That's the question. Or you hear the voice of God, hey, you are not to be in this place doing this one. I have brought you here for a greater purpose. Are you fulfilling that purpose? So God's intervention. So we needed to interpret history, in the view of the God's interference in our affairs. Christian worldview sees the story of Jesus Christ as a central point of history. God Himself became a man, came and dwelt among us. With that one, the history changed, the course of the world changed. You think of a world where, before Jesus came to this world, you think of India before Jesus came? Can you think of India in the BCs? What was it like? What was it like? Or you go back and pick up some history books and read what was it like. Child marriage, sati, slavery, the caste system at its, epoch. So many things. Since Jesus Christ came, things have changed. People may not acknowledge that it is Jesus who made, but actually it is Jesus who made. Who else? Because all the other gods and goddesses were here before that. It is a foreign god, they say Jesus. When did the Harijans sit with the upper class people in the same class on the same bench? It happened on a Christian school. Where did the ordinary lower caste woman, carrying a baby, walked into a hospital and delivered the baby in the same, hospital where the upper class woman delivered the baby? It all happened in the Christians. Christianity has changed. Before William Carey came, Sadi, of course, William Carey is not the only one, Ram Manohar Roy and William Carey, they worked together, and true, but William Carey gave that great motivation. It is only by his interest he wrote to the British Parliament and the letter came, Sati is abolished in India. That's history. It's all interpreting the history, from his intervention, his interference and everything, changed. This is true about Africa, this is true about any continent. The message of Jesus Christ has changed. Why democracy came. Bible was the first book to say